I woke up on a hospital floor, blood in my mouth, heart racing so fast I thought it would explode. That's what happens when you trust strangers on the internet more than doctors. Let me tell you how I almost killed myself trying to save myself. My name doesn't matter. You don't need to know who I am. What matters is that I could be anyone. Your sister, your coworker, the girl sitting next to you on the train, scrolling through her phone, looking for answers in all the wrong places. I am telling you this because I need you to understand something. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't reckless. I was just scared. And when you're scared enough, when you're desperate enough, you'll believe anything that promises to make the pain stop. I'm shaking as I write this. My hands still tremble sometimes, even now. The doctors say it's just residual nerve damage. They say it'll get better. They said a lot of things would get better, but I'm getting ahead of myself. 2 years ago, I was normal. God, I hate that word now. Normal. But that's what I was. I was 27. I had a job I tolerated, friends I loved, a tiny apartment with a plant I somehow kept alive. I went to yoga classes on Tuesdays. I dated occasionally, badly. I complained about being tired all the time, like everyone else my age. I had dreams, small ones, realistic ones. Save up for a better apartment, maybe adopt a dog, travel to Japan one day, find someone who made me laugh, the kind of dreams that don't set your soul on fire, but keep you moving forward, you know? My mom used to call me practical. You've always had your feet on the ground, she'd say, like it was a compliment. And I did. I was the friend who researched everything before making a decision. I read reviews. I made lists. I trusted science, trusted doctors, trusted the system. I trusted the wrong things in the end, but we'll get to that. I remember the first time I felt it. It was nothing really. Just a weird flutter in my chest one morning while I was brushing my teeth. I paused, toothbrush still in my mouth, waiting to see if it would happen again. It didn't. I forgot about it by lunchtime. The thing about symptoms is they creep up on you. They don't announce themselves. They don't knock on your door with a megaphone saying, "Hey, something's really wrong here." They whisper, a flutter here, a strange ache there, fatigue that feels a little heavier than usual. You brush it off. You're just stressed. You didn't sleep well. You need more vitamin D. You need to exercise more. You need to exercise less. You need to eat better. You need to relax. You need to stop being so dramatic. That's what my boyfriend at the time said. Ex-boyfriend now, obviously. When I mentioned feeling weird, feeling off, he'd roll his eyes. "You're always tired," he'd say. "Maybe you should go to bed earlier instead of staying up on your phone." He wasn't wrong about the phone, but he was wrong about everything else. The flutters became more frequent. My heart would race for no reason. I'd be sitting at my desk, typing an email, and suddenly my pulse would spike like I'd just run a marathon. I'd have to stop, put my hand on my chest, breathe slowly until it passed. Then came the dizziness. The room would tilt slightly, just for a second, and I'd have to grab onto something to steady myself. My coworkers started noticing. "You okay?" "Yeah, just stood up too fast." "You look pale." "I'm fine. Just didn't eat breakfast." Lie after lie after lie, not to them, to myself. I went to the doctor eventually. Of course I did. I'm not completely insane. She was nice, professional. She listened to my heart, took my blood pressure, ordered some blood tests. Everything came back normal. My heart sounded fine. My blood pressure was perfect. My thyroid was normal. My iron was normal. Everything was fucking normal. Sometimes anxiety can cause physical symptoms, she said gently. Have you been under a lot of stress lately? I wanted to scream, but I nodded instead. She prescribed me anti-anxiety medication, told me to try meditation, to exercise regularly, to practice good sleep hygiene. I took the pills for 2 weeks. They made me feel foggy and distant, like I was watching my life through a dirty window. The symptoms didn't stop. If anything, they got worse. I went back. Different doctor this time. More tests. More. Everything looks normal. More suggestions about stress and anxiety, and maybe I should see a therapist. I saw a therapist. She was nice too. Everyone was so fucking nice. But nice doesn't fix whatever was happening inside my body. By month 3, I could barely make it through a work day. I'd have to leave meetings early because the room was spinning. I'd sit in the bathroom stall, head between my knees, trying not to vomit. My manager started giving me concerned looks. Maybe you should take some time off, she suggested, but I couldn't afford to take time off. And besides, time off to do what? To feel like shit at home instead of at work? I started calling in sick a lot. I stopped seeing friends because I never knew when I'd feel okay and when I'd feel like I was dying. My boyfriend left me, said he couldn't handle my health obsession. You're not even sick, he said on his way out. The doctor said you're fine. You just need to get your head straight. I cried for 2 days straight after that. Not because I missed him, I didn't, but because maybe he was right. Maybe it was all in my head. Maybe I was making myself sick with worry. Maybe I was crazy. That's when the fear really set in. The kind of fear that lives in your bones, that whispers to you at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep because your heart is pounding so hard you can feel it in your throat. What if the doctors were missing something? What if there was something seriously wrong and they just weren't finding it? What if I was dying and no one believed me? I stopped trusting my body. Every sensation became a threat. A tickle in my throat was cancer. A headache was a brain tumor. The flutters in my chest were a heart defect they'd somehow missed. I spent hours on Google. I know. Everyone says, don't Google your symptoms. But when doctors aren't giving you answers, where else are you supposed to turn? I found forums, hundreds of them, thousands of people just like me, describing the exact same symptoms. Heart palpitations, dizziness, fatigue, doctors telling them nothing was wrong, but they knew something was wrong. They could feel it, and they'd found answers, not from doctors, from each other. That's how I first heard about it, the miracle cure. Though it wasn't called that, not exactly. It had a scientific-sounding name, something with enzymes and cellular regeneration and detoxification. It was mentioned casually in a forum comment. Someone had been suffering for years, with symptoms just like mine. Dozens of doctors, hundreds of tests, nothing. Until they tried this protocol, this specific combination of supplements and diet changes, and this one particular compound you could only get from certain online suppliers. It saved my life, they wrote. I'm not exaggerating. I was dying and the medical system failed me. This was the only thing that worked. I clicked on their profile, read through their posts. They'd been active in the forum for 3 years, documenting their journey. The before was heartbreaking, desperation, pain, hopelessness. The after was like a different person, vibrant, grateful, alive. I wanted that. God, I wanted that so badly. I kept reading. More testimonials, more success stories. People who'd been to the Mayo Clinic, to specialists, to the best doctors money could buy. Nothing worked. Until this. The science made sense, or at least it sounded like it made sense. They talked about toxins building up in the body, about cellular inflammation, about how modern medicine treats symptoms instead of root causes, about how pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know about natural cures because there's no money in actually healing people. It felt like someone was finally telling me the truth. I spent 3 days reading everything I could find. Blog posts, YouTube videos, Instagram accounts with thousands of followers, all promoting this protocol. People with before and after photos, looking transformed. People crying on camera, thanking this cure for giving them their lives back. The more I read, the more it made sense. The medical system had failed me. Blood tests couldn't detect everything. Doctors didn't know everything. They were trained to push pills, not to heal. But this was different. This was natural. This was real people sharing real experiences. I found the main website. It looked professional, legitimate. They had clinical advisors with impressive credentials. They had a money-back guarantee. They had thousands of 5-star reviews. The protocol wasn't cheap. The starter kit was $800. The full protocol, which they strongly recommended, was closer to $3,000. I hesitated. I'd never spent that kind of money on anything except rent. But then I had another episode. I was making dinner when my heart started racing, really racing. Over 180 beats per minute, according to my Apple Watch. I collapsed onto the kitchen floor, convinced I was having a heart attack. I called 911. The paramedics came, checked my vitals. My heart rate had already gone back to normal. They suggested I go to the ER to be safe. 5 hours in the ER. More tests. More. Everything looks normal. More suggestions about anxiety. The bill was $2,000 after insurance. I ordered the protocol that night. It arrived in a big box filled with bottles. So many bottles. Different colored pills, powders, tinctures. A detailed instruction manual with a schedule of what to take when. A private Facebook group invitation for people following the protocol. I joined the group immediately. There were 15,000 members. People posted constantly. Updates, questions, support, success stories. The energy was incredible. Everyone was so positive, so hopeful, so sure this was the answer. I read through the manual 3 times. It was complicated. Specific times to take specific supplements, foods to avoid completely, foods to eat only organic, coffee enemas, detox baths, meditation practices, affirmations. It was overwhelming, but I'd paid for it, and I was desperate. I started the next day. The first week was brutal. The manual warned about healing crises, that things might get worse before they got better as your body purged toxins. They weren't kidding. I felt like absolute shit. Nauseous. Headaches that made my vision blur. My skin broke out. I couldn't sleep. When I did sleep, I had vivid, disturbing dreams. I posted in the Facebook group, scared. Immediately, dozens of people responded. That's normal. It means it's working. Your body is detoxing. Push through. I felt the same way. By week 3, I felt like a new person. Trust the process. So I did. I trusted the process. I took the pills, all of them, morning, afternoon, evening, bedtime. I drank the horrible tasting powders mixed with water. I avoided gluten, dairy, sugar, processed foods. I stopped going out because it was too hard to explain why I couldn't eat anything at restaurants. I did the coffee enemas. Don't ask me to describe that experience. Just know that I did it, twice a week, because the manual said it was crucial for detoxification. I spent hours in Epsom salt baths, so hot my skin turned red. I meditated. I repeated affirmations. My body is healing. I am healthy. I am strong. I believed it. I needed to believe it. Around week 2, I had a good day. Just one, but it felt like a miracle. I woke up without my heart racing. I made it through the entire day without dizziness. I felt almost normal, almost like myself again. I posted in the group, elated. The responses flooded in. See? It's working. This is just the beginning. Your body is healing, I cried with relief. After months of feeling like I was dying, I had one good day. One day of feeling human. It was enough to hook me completely. I bought the next phase of the protocol. More supplements, more expensive. The clinical advisor I'd been emailing said I needed to increase my dosage. That my case was more severe than average. That I needed to be patient. I was patient. I was so fucking patient. But the good days didn't continue. After that one day, things went back to the way they were. Actually worse than they were. The heart palpitations were constant now. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, unable to catch my breath. I started sleeping, propped up on pillows, because lying flat made it worse. I lost weight, not in a good way. I looked hollow. My face was gaunt. My clothes hung off me. My mom came to visit and was horrified. "What's happening to you?" she asked, tears in her eyes. "I'm getting better," I told her. "It's just the healing process. I'm detoxing." She wanted me to go to the hospital. I refused. I'd been to the hospital. They didn't help. They didn't understand. But the protocol understood. The people in the Facebook group understood. They were the only ones who understood. When I posted about my symptoms getting worse, they reassured me. Healing isn't linear. Sometimes you get worse before you get better. Don't give up now. You're so close to a breakthrough. I wasn't close to a breakthrough. I was close to breaking completely. Month 4, I couldn't work anymore. I'd used up all my sick days, all my vacation time. My manager called me, concerned but firm. I needed to either come back or take an official medical leave. I took the leave. I didn't have a choice. I spent my days in bed, taking the supplements, following the protocol exactly. Every variation in how I felt was analyzed, posted in the group, dissected by strangers who'd become my lifeline. I stopped talking to my friends. They didn't understand. They kept suggesting I see a real doctor, try actual medicine. They didn't get it. Modern medicine had failed me. This was the only thing that could help. I was alone, completely alone, except for the internet strangers who believed in me, who believed in the protocol. I was spending $1,000 a month on supplements now. I'd maxed out 2 credit cards. I didn't care. What's money when you're dying? And I was dying. I could feel it. Despite the protocol, despite doing everything right, I was getting worse. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I remember because I just finished my morning supplements. 12 different pills, 2 powders, 1 tincture under the tongue. I was sitting on my couch, waiting for them to activate when my heart started racing. This wasn't like the other times. This was different, faster, harder, wrong. My vision started closing in from the edges, gray creeping across my peripheral vision. I tried to stand up to get to my phone, to call someone. I don't remember falling. I just remember the floor. Cold. Hard. my cheek pressed against it. I couldn't move. My whole body was seized up, trembling. My heart felt like it was trying to escape my chest. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything except lie there, waiting to die. This is it, I thought. This is how I die, alone in my apartment, because I was too stubborn to listen to doctors. I don't know how long I lay there. Time didn't work right. Could have been minutes, could have been an hour. I heard pounding on my door, my neighbor. I'd given her a spare key months ago, back when I thought I might need someone to check on me. Thank God I did. She found me on the floor, called 911, rode with me in the ambulance while I drifted in and out of consciousness. I woke up in the ICU, machines beeping, IV in my arm, oxygen mask over my face, my mom sitting next to my bed, eyes red from crying. A doctor came in, not the dismissive kind from before, a cardiologist, serious, concerned. "You're lucky to be alive," he said, not unkindly, just stating a fact. My heart rate had hit 220 beats per minute. I'd had what they called a supraventricular tachycardia event. Essentially, my heart's electrical system had short-circuited. They'd had to give me medication to reset my heart rhythm. It worked, but barely. "What caused this?" my mom asked. The doctor looked at me. "We need to run some tests, but I need to know, have you been taking anything, any medications, supplements?" I should have lied. Part of me wanted to, but I was too tired, too scared. I told him everything. I watched his face change as I listed the supplements, the powders, the tinctures, the protocol. "How long have you been taking these?" he asked. 4 months. He was quiet for a moment. Then he asked a nurse to bring my chart, started looking something up on his tablet. "Several of these supplements interact badly with each other," he said finally, "and some of them, in the dosages you were taking, can cause serious cardiac events, heart arrhythmias, electrolyte imbalances, liver damage." The room spun, not from dizziness this time, from the realization of what I'd done to myself. "But the reviews," I whispered. "All those people, they said it saved them." The doctor's expression softened. "I can't speak to what other people experienced, but what I can tell you is that you're in acute heart failure. Your potassium levels are dangerously low. Your liver enzymes are elevated, and if your neighbor hadn't found you when she did, you likely wouldn't have survived the night." I stayed in the hospital for 6 days. They ran every test imaginable, found things the previous doctors had missed. Not because those doctors were incompetent, but because I'd been too scared to push for more thorough testing. And because, ironically, I'd made myself sicker with the cure. I had a genuine heart condition. A small one, manageable, but real. Something called an accessory pathway that can cause episodes of rapid heartbeat. It's not that uncommon. It's treatable. The supplements I'd been taking had made it exponentially worse. They'd also damaged my liver, depleted my electrolytes, and caused a cascade of other problems. The protocol hadn't been healing me. It had been slowly killing me. Lying in that hospital bed, I had a lot of time to think, to replay every decision that led me there. I thought about the forums, the testimonials, the success stories. Were they all fake? Some probably were. Some were probably from people who'd convinced themselves they felt better because they needed to believe so badly. Some were probably from people who got better despite the protocol, not because of it. And some were probably from people who'd gotten lucky, who hadn't had the dangerous interactions I'd had, who'd pulled back before it got too bad. I thought about the clinical advisors with their impressive credentials. I looked them up later. Most of their credentials were from diploma mills, unaccredited institutions. One of them wasn't even a real person. The photo was stock photography. I thought about the money-back guarantee. I tried to get a refund. They never responded to my emails. I thought about how desperate I'd been, how scared, how willing to believe anything that offered hope. That's what they prey on. The miracle cure peddlers. They don't target stupid people. They target scared people, suffering people, people the medical system has failed or dismissed or overlooked. They tell you what you want to hear, that there's a simple answer, that you're not crazy, that your suffering is real and valid and fixable if only you buy their product. Recovery was slow, agonizing, not just physically, but mentally. The actual treatment for my heart condition was straightforward. Medication to manage the arrhythmia, lifestyle changes. Eventually, they did a catheter ablation to fix the accessory pathway. Outpatient procedure. Took less than 2 hours. Fixed the problem that had been plaguing me for months. The treatment for the damage I'd done to myself with the supplements took longer. Months of monitoring my liver, slowly restoring my electrolyte balance, weaning my body off all the substances I'd been pumping into it. But the psychological recovery, that's still ongoing. I had to face what I'd done, not just to my body, but to my life, the relationships I'd destroyed, the job I'd lost, the money I'd wasted, the time I'd lost. I had to face the fact that I'd been manipulated, that I'd let fear override reason, that I'd been so desperate for answers that I'd stopped thinking critically. I saw a therapist, a real one this time, not while I was in the throes of believing in miracle cures. She helped me understand why I'd been so vulnerable to that kind of manipulation. It wasn't weakness. It wasn't stupidity. It was human nature. When you're suffering and scared, your brain will grasp at anything that promises relief. Your critical thinking goes out the window. You want to believe so badly that you ignore red flags. You rationalize away doubts. And when the traditional system fails you, even if it's not the system's fault, even if it's just bad luck or missed connections, you become even more susceptible to alternatives. I'm angry. I'm so fucking angry. Angry at the people who sold me that protocol, who preyed on my desperation, who made millions off the suffering of people like me. Angry at the online influencers who promoted it, who got their kickbacks, who never disclosed that they were being paid to peddle this shit. Angry at the algorithm that kept showing me more and more content about miracle cures. That created an echo chamber of misinformation. Angry at a healthcare system that, while it ultimately saved my life, initially dismissed my concerns and made me feel crazy. But mostly, I'm angry at myself for being so desperate that I stopped thinking clearly, for ignoring every warning sign, for prioritizing internet strangers over actual medical professionals, for nearly killing myself in the pursuit of feeling better. I'm also grateful. God, I'm so grateful. Grateful for my neighbor who thought to check on me. Grateful for the paramedics who responded. Grateful for the cardiologist who took my symptoms seriously. Grateful for my mom who stayed by my side even though I'd pushed her away. Grateful that I survived because so many people don't. People die every day from miracle cures, from choosing alternative treatments over actual medicine, from trusting the wrong sources. I almost became a statistic, another cautionary tale, Another person who believed the internet over doctors and paid the ultimate price. I want you to understand something. I'm not saying alternative medicine is always wrong. I'm not saying supplements are always dangerous. I'm not saying doctors are always right. What I'm saying is be careful. Be so fucking careful. When you're desperate, when you're scared, when you're in pain, that's when you're most vulnerable. That's when you'll believe anything. But ask yourself, who's selling you this cure? What are their credentials? What do they gain from you buying it? Are the testimonials verified? What does actual peer-reviewed science say? What do licensed medical professionals think? And please, please, if something makes you feel worse instead of better, stop. Don't push through. Don't believe that it's just detox. Don't trust strangers on the internet over your own body's warning signals. I ignored every red flag because I wanted to believe, because I needed to believe. It almost killed me. I'm different now. Obviously, you don't go through something like that and come out unchanged. I'm more cautious, more skeptical, more willing to ask questions and demand answers. I'm also more compassionate toward myself and others. I understand now why people fall for these things. I don't judge them the way I used to. I'm rebuilding my life. Slowly, I got a new job, made amends with friends, started dating again. Slowly, carefully. I'm still working through trust issues, both with others and with myself. My heart is okay now. Really okay. Not miracle cure okay. Actually medically okay. Some days I still get scared. When I feel my heart skip a beat, I panic for a second, but I breathe through it. I remind myself that I'm being monitored, that I'm on proper medication, that I have actual doctors I can call. I remind myself that I survived. If you're reading this because you're considering trying some miracle cure you saw online, please stop. Please think. I know you're desperate. I know you're scared. I know the medical system has probably failed you in some way. I know you want to believe there's an easy answer, but there isn't. There's no shortcut to health, no magic pill, no secret cure that doctors don't want you to know about. There's just the hard work of finding the right medical team, of being persistent, of asking questions, of trusting science over testimonials. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It doesn't promise overnight transformation, but it won't kill you. And that's kind of important. I still think about those 4 months sometimes, about who I was then, about how close I came to not being here. I forgive her, that scared, desperate version of myself. She was doing the best she could with what she knew. She was trying to survive, but I'm glad she's gone. I'm glad I'm here instead. Wiser, scarred. Alive. If my story saves even one person from making the same mistake, then maybe it was worth it. Maybe all that suffering, all that pain, all those mistakes, maybe they mean something. I tried a miracle cure. It almost killed me. Real medicine saved me. That's the truth. That's my confession. That's what I need you to know. This is my personal story. Always seek advice from qualified medical professionals.